What's going on, everybody? This is Robert with Robert Saves History, and today we will be doing a different type of segment. Um, we will be doing a segment about the Bill of Rights. If you don't know what the Bill of Rights are, the Bill of Rights are your constitutional right as an American. There are a number of amendments. Actually, it's going to be 27 amendments that we will be going over today in this video. So stay tuned and we'll go to amendment number 1. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so the First Amendment of the Bill of Rights is the freedom of religion, speech, and the press, the right of assembly and petition. Congress shall not make a law that would infringe on an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise of or infringing the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the peoples peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of a grievance. So let's break that down, shall we? So, freedom of press. Freedom of press is where you be able to go and take video, to take photography. You're able to go out on a public sidewalk and film whatever you would like in public. That is where the press comes into effect. You can videotape, and that's pretty much press, videotaping, taking pictures, that kind of stuff. Freedom of speech, same thing. You're able to say what you want, how you want. Now, there is a fine gray line about that. You can say it, but should you say it? Is it the right time and place to say it? Now, it is still freedom of speech, so you'll be able to still say it without breaking the law. Freedom of religion, plain and simple, everybody has the right to believe or not believe in God. And whatever religion you decide to practice is your right to practice that religion. No one or no government should infringe upon that. The right to assemble and petition is plain as day. You're allowed to assemble as a party and protest against something that you believe is wrong. For example, Roe versus Wade. A lot of people petitioned that it is the right for women to choose, or on the other hand, some people are petitioning or going out there and walking and doing marches for, the right to abortions or the right for, something like that. So that's just an example, but that is the law. You're allowed to do that due to the First Amendment. All right, so this is going to be the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights. The right to bear arms. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. In other words, you have the right to bear arms in your home, on your person, according to law. In your state may vary. you have to, if you open carry, that could be an open carry state. You're allowed to open carry your firearm where everybody can see. There are some states that say you have to go and fill out a concealed weapons permit in order for you to carry a firearm out in public. But in your private residence, you are allowed to have a firearm. Now, I do understand that in the District of Columbia is not a state. It is a district, which means it adheres by different laws. Those laws are not by state laws, so they are allowed to make up their own rules, laws, whatever. So it is very difficult to have a firearm in the District of Columbia. But any other state, you're allowed to have a firearm in your household according to law. As in, if you like, you cannot have an automatic weapon without having a certain license. But if you have a regular pistol or long rifle or something like that, that's not that you can just go to Walmart and buy, or something like that, that you don't need a certain class license to own, you're allowed to have it in your household, and that is where that amendment comes into effect. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so this is amendment number 3, housing a soldier. Now, this amendment does not take place anymore. This was back during the British Parliament, but it does state right up here, no soldier in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. So, in other words, back when this amendment was in effect, during wartime, a soldier can go into a house and say, hey, I'm going to live here during wartime. That's it, done. But during peacetime, not in wartime, that soldier would have to gain permission from the house owner in order to stay there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we are on amendment number 4. This is search and arrest warrants. The right of the people to be secured in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly described the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. So let's break that down for us. So you get pulled over, they say, please step out of the vehicle, and they say, I'm going to go ahead and search you. The first thing is, 1, do they have probable cause of even pulling you over? Okay. Second, in order for any police officer to search you, they have to have probable cause, or they suspect you of 1, committing a crime, 2, about to commit a crime, or 3, have committed a crime. If they cannot articulate any of those, they do not have probable cause to search or seize anything off of you. Now let's break this down for you. When it says persons, houses, papers, and effects, no police officer or government official can break into your house, bust down the door, come into your house, or come into your house, period, without a warrant. They can ask you, hey, can we come in and search around? You can say, no, please leave my property. Have a great day. Bye. And close the door. But if they have a warrant, then that is, they have a judge that already signed off on it. Now, seizures, you have your wallet, you have, pocket knife, you have all that kind of stuff. When they're searching you, they can't take that away from you because they can't search you. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is if you know that you haven't broken the law, but a police officer or government official wants to stop and search you, and you are not in a stop and search state, then you have the right to say, I want to plead the Fourth Amendment. You do not have a warrant, and I do not give permission for searches or seizures. And that's it. And you just keep quiet. Anything after that, if they don't have probable cause, then they are breaking the law. All right, we're on Fifth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment state is for the right in criminal cases. The Fifth Amendment states, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of the grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in a militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal cases to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, and property without due process of law. Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. So the Fifth Amendment, a lot of people say, I want to plead the Fifth. Okay? So that means you're going to stay quiet. You're not going to say nothing. You're not going to incriminate yourself. Also, this says that, that's pretty much what it says. You can remain silent, which is pleading the Fifth, unless you're being indicted by the grand jury, you're in the land or naval forces or a militia. And so what I suggest is the Fifth Amendment is a good thing to know in the top of your head. I plead the Fifth. All right, we're on the Sixth Amendment. The Sixth Amendment is the right to a fair trial. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, and to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. So, in other words, you have the right to a fair trial. You can ask the judge, I want to plead the Sixth Amendment, Your Honor, to have a fair trial. You want it to be fast. You want it to be speedy. You want pleading the Sixth is where if you commit a crime in Wichita, Kansas, or Austin, Texas, and that's where that court has to be, right there. It can't be somewhere else. It can't be, a different county or anything like that. That's where it has to be. Then the jury has to be picked from that location. So pleading the Sixth is to have the right to a fair trial and to have an attorney. They can give you an attorney, an assistance of counsel for his offense, for his defense. In other words, you can have the court give you an attorney. All right, we are on Amendment number 7, the right in civil cases. In suits at common law, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. So let's break that down. So first of all, $20 back in 1800, yeah. Nowadays, I think it's like 75,000 or 320 due to inflation. But I mean, I guess that could be argumentative due to the fact that it's in our Constitution as $20. But you can be the judge. This is no legal advice or anything like that. But summarizing this amendment is pretty much you have the right to have a jury in a civil case in federal court. Plain and simple. All right, we are on the 8th Amendment, which is bails, fines, and punishments. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines be imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment be inflicted. If you are found guilty, they cannot put a $55 billion bail, or they can't say you ran a red light, so we're going to impose a $30 million fine. And they can't go and say, you know what, I need you to pick, every clover, 4-leaf clover out of this patch of fields as your punishment. They can't do that anymore. So that is the summarization of the 8th Amendment. All right, we are on the 9th right of the Bill of Rights, which is the right retained by the people. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. So, in other words, there are other rights that might not be listed in the Bill of Rights that should not be violated. That pretty much sums it up. This is the 10th Amendment. Powers retained by the states and the people. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. In definition, federalism. Federalism is pretty much, or this amendment pretty much states that the federal government cannot overstep their authority. And that amendment pretty much goes by the whole Constitution that the federal government cannot overstep their authorities by the Constitution. It would be against the law and they can be held accountable for it. All right, we are on the 11th Amendment, which is lawsuits against states. The judicial power of the United States shall not be construed to intend to any suit in law or equity commenced or prosecuted against one of the United States by citizens of another state or by citizens or subjects of a foreign state. In other words, if you intend to sue a state, you have to be in that state. You can't be a citizen of California suing the state of Oregon, or you can't be in a different country. You can't be a citizen of France suing the state of Texas. You can't do that. It's against the law. It's against the 11th Amendment, and no United States courts will hear that hearing or make any decisions about it. All right, we are on the 12th Amendment. Now, I'm not going to put it up because it's kind of lengthy, but it is the amendment for election of the president and vice president. I'll go ahead and read it out loud for you and then interpret it, but I will not put it up on the screen. The electors shall meet in their respective states and vote by ballot for president and vice president, one of whom at least shall not be an inhabitant of the same state with themselves. They shall name in their ballot the person voted for as president, and in distinct ballots the person voted for as vice president. And they shall make distinct lists of all persons voted for as president and of all persons voted for as vice president, and of the number of votes for each, which lists they shall sign and certify and transmit sealed to the seat of the government of the United States, directed to the President of the Senate. The President of the Senate shall, in presence of the Senate and House of Representatives, open all the certificates, and the votes shall be then counted. The person having the greatest number of votes for president shall be the president, if such number be a majority of the whole number of electors appointed. And if no person have such majority, then from the person having the highest number not exceeding 3 on the list of those voted for as president, the House of Representatives shall choose immediately by ballot the president. But in choosing the president, the votes shall be taken by states, the representation from each state having 1 vote. A quorum for this purpose shall consist of a member or members from 2/3 of the state, and a majority of all the states shall be necessary to a choice. And if the House of Representatives shall not choose the president, however, the right of choice shall devolve upon them before the 4th day of March next following. Then the vice president shall act as president, as in the case of the death or other constitutional disability of the president. The person having the greatest of votes as a vice president shall be vice president, and such number be a majority of the whole number of the electors appointed. And if no person have the majority, then from the 2 highest numbers on the list, the Senate shall choose the vice president. A quorum for the purpose shall consist of 2/3 of the whole number of the senators, and the majority of the whole number shall be necessary to a choice. But no person constitutionally enabled to the office of the president shall be eligible to that of vice president of the United States. That's a big amendment. But sum it down, it just tells you how to vote and how they choose the president and vice president of the United States. Sorry for the lengthy explanation. All right, so this is the 13th Amendment, which is the abolish of slavery, which is pretty much neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States, and any place subject to their jurisdiction. In other words, slavery is abolished. You cannot be a slave unless or unusual punishment unless you are convicted of a crime. No, you're not a slave when you are incarcerated, but you are doing your time. So when you're driving down the road and you see litter patrol or something like that, that is not a slave. That is them working their punishment. So that is an example, and that is the summarization of the 13th Amendment. All right, we are on the 14th Amendment, which is civil rights. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, and property without due process of law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the law. In other words, if you were born in the United States, in a state, then you have civil rights, 100%, and the state that you reside in cannot pass a law that infringes on your rights as a person or human being, and they have to treat you accordingly, and and you are protected by law in that state as a United States citizen. All right, we are on the 15th Amendment, and that is black suffrage. The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. In other words, the state that you live in cannot say you're not allowed to vote because of your race, color, what you did in the past, that kind of stuff. Servitude back in the past. All right, the 16th Amendment is the Income Tax Amendment. The Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes on income from whatever source deprives without apportionment among the several states and without regard to any census. In other words, this amendment allows the government to place income tax or taxes on your income. You working, you have to pay taxes. This is the amendment that allows them to do that. All right, so this is the 17th Amendment, which is the direct election of senators. The Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state, elected by the people thereof for 6 years, and each senator shall have 1 vote. The electors in each state shall have the qualifications for each electors of the most numerous branch of the state's legislature. When vacancies happen in the representation of each state in the same Senate, or in the Senate, the executive authority of each state shall issue writs of election to fill such vacancies, provided that the legislator of any state may empower the executive thereof to make temporary appointments until the people fill the vacancy by election as the legislator may direct. This amendment shall not be so construed as to affect the election or term of any senator chosen before it becomes valid as part of the Constitution. And that's pretty much just plain as day how they elect our senators here in the United States. All right, we are on the 18th Amendment, which is the prohibition of liquor. Now, of course, this does not pertain anymore, but in other words, after a year from the ratification of this article, the manufacture, sale, and transportation of intoxicating liquors within the importation thereof into or the exportation thereof from the United States and all territories subject to the jurisdiction thereof for beverage purposes is hereby prohibited. And of course, that means this is the amendment that prohibits the manufacture, sale, or the transportation of liquor, and of course, that does not pertain to us anymore. All right, we are on the amendment number 19, women's suffrage. The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. In other words, the state or United States cannot tell you you can vote, you can't vote because of what sexual orientation you are. So that's plain and simple. All right, we are on amendment number 20. Before I start, thank you guys so much for following along with me and learning a little bit more about our amendments as citizens of the United States, and that you are learning a little bit more about in depth each amendment and your right as a United States citizen. So the 20th Amendment is the terms of the President and Congress. So the term of the President and Vice President shall end at noon on the 20th day of January, and the terms of senators and representatives at noon on the 3rd day of January of the years in which such terms would have ended if this article had not been ratified, and the terms of their successors shall then begin. In other words, at high noon on the 20th of January, the old president goes out, the new president comes in on that date. So, and then same thing for the senators and representatives on the 3rd of January. All right, we're on the 21st Amendment. Now, this is very simple, that the 21st Amendment is pretty much repealing the 18th Amendment for the prohibition of liquor. And the amendment states the 18th Article of Amendment to the Constitution of the United States is hereby repealed. So, in other words, they take it back. This is the 22nd Amendment, limitations of presidents to 2 terms. No person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice, and no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than once. But this article shall not be applied to any person holding the office of president when this article was proposed by the Constitution, by the Congress, and shall not prevent any person who may be holding the office of president or acting as president during the term within which this article becomes operative from holding the office of president or acting as president during the remainder of such term. In other words, this just says that the president can only be president for 2 years. All right, so this is the 23rd Amendment, which is the suffrage in the District of Columbia. The district constituting the seat of the government of the United States shall appoint in such manner as the Congress may direct a number of electors of president and vice president equal to the whole number of senators and representative in Congress to which the district would be entitled if it were a state, but in no event more than the least populous state. They shall be in addition to those appointed by the states, but they shall be considered for the purpose of the election of president and vice president to be electors appointed by a state, and they shall meet in the district and perform such duties as provided by the 12th Article of Amendment. So in other words, this amendment was for the past. In other words, it prevented people that lived in the District of Columbia to vote in presidential elections, and of course, that was removed. Where you can, if you lived in the District of Columbia, you're allowed to vote in presidential or in any election in that matter. All right, so the 24th Amendment is the poll tax amendment, and the poll tax amendment is the right of citizens of the United States to vote in a primary or other election for president and vice president, for electors for president and vice president, or senators or representatives in Congress, shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state by reason of failure to pay any poll tax or any other taxes. So if you fail to pay taxes, you shall not be denied the right to vote. Plain and simple. Hey, you forgot you didn't pay your taxes this year. Shame on you, but you're allowed to vote. All right, we are on the 25th Amendment. The 25th Amendment is in a case of the removal of the president from office or of his death or resignation, the vice president shall become president. Plain and simple, if the president invokes the 25th Amendment, that is meaning he is incapacitated where he cannot serve as president. So, an example, if the president has to go in for surgery, the second that he becomes unconscious, at that point, the vice president will become president of the United States. And until the president becomes coherent and the doctor says that he's cognitive and all that kind of stuff, that's when the vice president now becomes vice president again. Now, this is the 26th Amendment. The 26th Amendment is suffrage for 18-year-olds. The right of a citizen of the United States who are 18 years or older to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on according to age. So as long as you are 18 years old, you are allowed to vote. At 18, you're a legal adult, in my book, and the law states that you cannot be denied the right to vote. And finally, the 27th amendment, which is the Congressional Salaries. And the Congressional Salaries Amendment states no law varying the compensation for the services of the senators and representatives shall take effect until the election of the representatives have been intervened. I guess that explains it right there, that this amendment pretty much states that no law can be replaced for compensation of the services of the senators and representatives until the election was until the election have been intervened. Again, thank you guys so much for sitting through this whole entire video. It's lengthy, I understand, but it clarifies the amendments. I know everybody knows, hey, I have the right, I have freedom of speech, but the most common, most common amendments that people know is the freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, and I have the right to remain silent, which is the Fifth Amendment. But the other amendments, all 24 amendments, not many people know about them. And those amendments are just as important as the most common amendments. So I wanted to do this video to further define our civil rights and further explain it. So thank you guys so much. If you have any questions, please comment down below your questions. I am not a lawyer, so any of these amendments are at your disposal via Google or Constitution book or anything like that. But I am not a lawyer, and this is not at any point in this whole video is any type of legal advice. If you have any problems with any of these amendments, like if you think something that you think you should invoke, or you should say, hey, I'm pleading this, you should definitely go and contact a lawyer. They will help you a lot better. This is just a video of defining the constitutional rights that we have as an American citizen. So again, thank you guys so much for all of your support. We will see you on our next video.